This is what happened when Aaliyah don't want to screen Caitlin right here. Look at this. Caitlin lands on her knee with Odyssey Sims trailing and grabbing her. Now Caitlin's on the floor grabbing her knee. Thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you so much, Aaliyah. Look at this. AB didn't screen. So now Odyssey Sims is on top. This is what Draymond Green was trying to tell you, Waffle House. This is exactly what Draymond...
Caitlin Clark is down on the floor again, clutching her knee, while the broadcast just told the 15 million people watching at home that the other player simply lost her balance. She didn't lose her balance. Anyone with two working eyes can watch that replay and see exactly what happened. That was not a stumble. That was not some innocent accident. That was a defender who charged directly into Clark's lower body at full speed, wrapped her up, and appeared to take her legs out from underneath her, while the referee standing just feet away watched the entire thing unfold and somehow decided the smartest response was to do absolutely nothing.
They came after Caitlin tonight. She gets flat mugged right here.
Trying to adjust her time.
Flat mugged. What are we doing? I mean, yikes! She couldn't get a foul call if her life depended on it. Not tonight, anyway. Not tonight. And then Odyssey Sims, I mean, for real, tackles Caitlin Clark. There's no confusion. She tackled her like it's the National Football League. And look, I like Odyssey Sims. She came through last year for the Fever. But that is...
This was the Indiana Fever facing the Dallas Wings. And by the time the night was finished, Caitlin Clark had been shoved, grabbed, held, and sent crashing to the floor so many times that nobody could even keep track anymore. But two moments in particular are the ones everyone is still talking about this morning. First, there was a play where Clark ended up clutching her knee in clear pain after a defender went directly into her legs in a way that appeared to have nothing to do with making a play on the ball.
And Beckers. And some intensity growing here as Clark.
And second, Paige Buchers was seen wrapping up Clark's arm late in the second quarter and holding on, almost as if challenging the officials to make a call while the clock continued to run down. Two completely different plays, yet somehow they produced the exact same outcome. The whistle remained silent far longer than it should have, and when it finally came, the moment had already passed and the damage was already done.
Boston is trash. She does not set screens. You got people tackling Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston, big, soft, sorry ass, don't do nothing. She's a big, soft, sorry piece of if you ask me out there. Aaliyah Boston is ass. $6 million of ass juice out there. She ain't did nothing. Got dominated by Jessica Shepard. Aaliyah Boston, get your sorry ass in the trash too. Go on, get your sorry ass in the trash. You suck. You the most overrated, overpaid big. For $6 million, you need to be playing like...
Let's start with the knee because this is the moment that deserves far more attention than it's getting. Clark is moving off the ball, trying to find a passing lane, when a Wings defender closes in at a speed that brings her dangerously close to Clark's legs. The contact comes low, around the knee area, and Clark immediately goes down, grabbing the joint with both hands, her expression showing clear discomfort. Whatever the exact intent was, the reaction makes it obvious that the contact was not something she simply brushed off. The defender then takes a couple of steps and throws her arms outward, appearing surprised by what just happened, a small reaction that becomes even more noticeable when you watch the replay a second or third time.
To not screen. Look at this. Like, look at it. What type? You're screening Caitlin! Oh my gosh! She's screening Caitlin instead of Odyssey. Oh my gosh! How do you screen Caitlin? Oh my gosh! She's screening her own teammate instead of screening Odyssey Sims. How do you screen Caitlin? It got to the point where she's hurting Caitlin. She's the reason Caitlin probably fell. Let me watch this. Look at this. AB didn't screen. Odyssey Sims just literally fell into Caitlin Clark. How do you screen Caitlin?
Here's the problem with describing that play as simply a loss of balance. If you watch the footwork leading into the contact, the defender doesn't appear to be reacting to Clark's movement. She's moving directly toward it. She squares her body, lowers her position, and drives toward Clark's planted leg in a way that resembles a defender trying to disrupt a runner before she can plant and change direction. That's not ordinary incidental contact. That's not simply a player failing to stop in time. The defender's body ends up positioned in a way that sends Clark to the floor. And the fact that the broadcast crew described it as losing her balance says a lot about how quickly the contact gets explained away when it involves this particular player instead of being examined for what actually happened. If the goal was simply to contest the passing lane, there were plenty of ways to do that without coming anywhere close to Clark's knee. This wasn't one of them.
How much is too much when you're guarding Caitlin Clark? First, Paige grabs her arm, the whistle comes late, Clark gets pissed, and Paige basically tells her, calm down. Then later, Odyssey Sims takes Clark down and she lands knee first on the floor. Nah man, Dallas was physical all night. Indiana loses 91-85 and Clark walks out frustrated. Call it tough defense if you want, but if this is normal, what the hell actually counts?
And here's the part that should really frustrate people. It's not only the play itself, but what happened immediately afterward. There was no whistle, not even a delayed call, just complete silence. Clark is down on the floor holding her knee. The trainer eventually comes over to check on her, while the referees standing nearby react as though they witnessed an entirely different play. This is a two-time MVP. One of the biggest reasons so many fans were in that arena in the first place, sitting on the hardwood in obvious discomfort, yet the three officials responsible for monitoring that exact action offered no response. No free throws, no flagrant review, not even a common foul to acknowledge that contact had taken place. The game simply continues as if nothing happened, with the only visible indication that something was wrong being Clark appearing to favor the leg during the possessions that followed.
Screen. She's moving all over the place. Hits her with the shoulder, like always. Look at this. Fouls her, holding her, and fouls the crap out of her. No foul. Look at this. She got fouled the whole game. They didn't call this a foul. Look at this one. Like, her body's all over her. How is that not a foul? Look at this one. Cardosa swipes her once, twice, just tries to grab her. Can you imagine being fouled the entire game? Every time you hit half court, every time you dribble, every time you drive. Look at this. Sheldon clearly has her hand on Caitlin Clark's shoulder when she's shooting it. They even showed a replay.
Compare that with how quickly the whistle comes out when Clark is the one making contact. Earlier in this same series between these two teams, Clark made what looked like a minor bump on a defender while setting a screen and was immediately called for an offensive foul, with no hesitation, no discussion, and barely any time given to see whether the contact actually affected the play. That's the inconsistency fans continue to point out game after game. When Clark initiates even minor contact, the foul can be called before the motion is even finished. But when Clark absorbs much more physical contact, the whistle suddenly seems to require a much longer look at the situation, or it never comes at all. It's the same three officials working the same 40 minutes of basketball, yet the standard can appear completely different depending on which jersey is initiating the contact.
Got called a technical foul because she accidentally ran into a ref. And as you will see from the clip, it was not intentional in the least. Her reaction to getting the whistle is just like all of us. It was so utterly unfair. Watch this.
So clearly was a foul, was not called.
Oh, she didn't even say anything.
Oh my God.
I mean, just insane. And they were gonna actually kick her out, and then they finally reversed that ruling. But like, this is crazy how the refs are acting. It's crazy.
This isn't the first time we've seen this same pattern either. Just a few weeks ago, Clark was given a technical foul after making contact with an official while following through on a play, seemingly as part of the natural motion of her body. At the same time, other players around the league have made similar, or even more physical, contact with officials during live action and walked away without a call. Fans noticed the difference almost immediately, and it only added fuel to an argument that has been growing throughout the season. The standard for what gets called against Clark versus what gets called when Clark is on the receiving end can sometimes look like two completely different rule books, and the league has yet to provide a convincing explanation for why that apparent gap continues to show up from game to game.
was that? Paige having the audacity to push Caitlin Clark, then putting her hand out and telling Caitlin Clark to calm down.
Some intensity brewing here as Clark taking exception to the bumps. You see Beckers grabbing the arm of Clark and Clark flailing the arm.
This is just another example of how girls are getting smoked by Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. The numbers do not lie all across the board. Caitlin is not having her best night tonight, but we still have another half to go. And I will be the first to admit that I think Paige is a baller, the way that she can see the whole court, the way that she can pull up from anywhere on the court. But this was so shicey. There's always been rumors that Paige was kind of jealous of Caitlin Clark, and she admitted it herself that she was jealous for what's happening with Caitlin Clark. She said that in an interview recently, but I feel like you did not need to put your arm out like that. That is so salty. Both players are built for big moments, but that did not need to happen on the court.
Now let's get to the second moment, the one that's likely to dominate the conversation tomorrow. With less than 10 seconds remaining in the second quarter, Clark has possession. The Wings have a foul to give, and Paige Buecher steps in to use it. But using a foul to give doesn't mean wrapping up an opponent's entire arm and continuing to hold on as the clock runs. Buecher grabs Clark's left arm and keeps hold of it, while Clark visibly tries to pull herself free, clearly frustrated by being restrained rather than simply fouled and released. The referee allows several seconds to pass before finally blowing the whistle. By that point, Clark has already thrown the ball down the court in frustration, sending it sailing uncomfortably close to Buecher as she heads toward the tunnel.
Grabbing her, no foul called, grabs her again. Caitlin Clark said, yeah, dude, I mean, she's touched me enough times right now. I mean, she's gotten her hands on me a little bit too much right now. Here we go, we have Paige grabbing Caitlin Clark, literally grabbing her arm, and we're not calling a foul. I don't understand what that is. This is one of the times where Caitlin Clark got mauled. Look at this. Grabbing her arm. Like Caitlin Clark's trying to run away and Paige Buecher's just reaching out saying, no, come here. I want to go this way. Like they're both going shopping at the store. And Caitlin Clark's like, no, I'm not going in that store. And Paige's like, no, come in this store. Yeah. It was wild. Absolutely wild. Goes and grabs Caitlin Clark again. And then foul. I mean, that second time looked like she was just trying to foul at that point. That looked like...
Watch the replay again and focus on the mechanics of the hold, not simply how the play ended. A foul to give is supposed to be quick. A bump, a reach, a whistle, and it's over. This wasn't quick. Buecher continues holding on well beyond the point where an official should need any additional information to make the call. She's not contesting a shot or trying to disrupt a pass. The clock is already approaching the 10-second mark, and she's physically preventing Clark from making a play while everyone waits for a whistle that takes far too long to arrive. During the hold, cameras also appeared to catch Buecher saying something toward Clark that some viewers online interpreted as telling her to calm down. That happened while Clark was still trying to free her arm. Slow the replay down, and the contrast becomes noticeable. Buecher appears composed, while Clark is actively attempting to pull herself free.
Thing I think is interesting because I believe them to be friends. They've said it before, or at least friendly, but they're good. You know, they compete against each other. They're competitors. You know, when you're on the court, it's different. Paige is clearly trying to take a foul here so that Clark doesn't get like some shot off, but she grabs her arm. She's clearly trying to take it. It doesn't get called, and then at this point, she's just mad. I don't think Caitlin has anything. She's not mad at Paige. She's mad at the ref for not calling the obvious. She grabbed my arm. Paige says, "Calm down." But listen, you yanked my arm. They didn't call it. Call the foul. And then she's still like, at that point, she's like, listen, she's mugging me at this point. You got to call the foul. This is going to end up being something.
Think about how unusual that looks when you slow the sequence down and really examine it. Buecher is the player holding on, and she's the one extending the contact beyond what the situation appears to require. Yet the message in that moment seems directed toward Clark, the player being restrained, as though she's the one who needs to calm down and control her reaction. It's a pattern that has followed Clark throughout the season. She gets bumped, held, or fouled hard, then reacts even slightly, and suddenly the conversation shifts toward her reaction instead of what happened before it. We saw something similar with the referee contact earlier this season. We saw it again with a knee collision earlier in this same game. And now we're seeing the same dynamic once more with Clark's arm being held late in the first half.
Refs are some of the worst. They're the worst refs of refdom of any of the refs that exist. They are so continuously, perpetually, just terrible across the board. All of them.
Let's expose last night's game. Like, this was called a foul. After reviewing it, one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. Look at this one. Instead of looking at her getting hit in the face, Caitlin Clark gets hit in the face. They look at a leg slightly moving a screen. Like, this is what Caitlin Clark deals with. Those are reach and fouls, arms across her whole body. She's getting hit twice, once in the throat, no foul called. So she could get hit, she could get assaulted, but they only call fouls if it's on her.
The referees clearly had a difficult situation on their hands because the delay before making that call was anything but minor. A foul to give is supposed to be called almost immediately, so both benches understand exactly what happens with the clock. Instead, this play continued long enough for Clark to react, the ball to be thrown, and both teams to begin heading toward their locker rooms before the whistle finally confirmed what everyone in the building had already recognized several seconds earlier. That's not strong officiating. At best, it's a crew that failed to react quickly enough on a play that mattered. And later in the third quarter, Buchers herself received a technical foul for arguing with an official after another call involving Clark went against her. By then, the crew had clearly struggled to control both the pace and physicality of the game, with Clark appearing to absorb much of the contact before the officials finally started managing it. When both benches, both coaching staffs, and an entire arena are visibly frustrated with the same three officials by the middle of the third quarter, that's not exactly a subtle warning sign. It suggests the crew lost control early and never fully managed to regain it.
She intentionally seeked out the official.
Did that you were backwards to them? Did you know they were there in that moment?
And through the forearm. That too.
Did you know they were there?
No. It's really,
Did they give you
really bad.
a different explanation of any kind?
No, that's
Gave
what I
us
was
the
told.
same
That's what I was told. Yeah.
What was your tech for the argument?
My tech was for saying that, even though I heard the F-bomb the whole game, my tech was for saying that. Like, that's a bad call. That's a bad call. Incidental contact when you're flying out of control, like on it. And I thought her teammates should have come up and talked to her about that as well. Like, I think that's really bad. That happens all the time in the game. Officials have to have some awareness in those moments, and it didn't happen.
Presume you plan to appeal that one?
Yes.
It's already appealed. I just hope the league makes the right decision. Hopefully I can play on Tuesday.
Stephanie White has been in this position before, defending her star point guard after games like this. And you can almost sense the frustration from seeing the same situations repeat over and over. It's not that hard fouls don't happen in the WNBA. They happen all the time. This is a physical league, and nobody realistically expects Clark to receive a whistle every time another player makes contact with her. The real issue is consistency. It's a low-contact play around the knee going completely uncalled in real time, followed shortly afterward by what looks like a questionable offensive foul on a routine screen being called almost instantly. Fans aren't asking officials to give Clark special treatment. They're asking for the same standard to be applied in both directions, and right now many believe that standard doesn't look consistent. White has made similar comments after other games, usually choosing her words carefully and framing the issue as a broader concern about officiating rather than directly accusing anyone. But when the same type of situation keeps happening, it gives her more reason to raise the issue again.
Agent Aaron Kane said Caitlin will never be paid what she's worth by the WNBA because it is quite literally impossible for them to pay her what she's worth. An economist at Indiana University Columbus calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis, and that she is responsible for 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic impact and economic activity for the WNBA. You can argue this intelligently. No one person means as much to their league whatever league it is, as Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA. And no person has done more for their league.
There's also a much bigger financial and competitive picture that the league cannot afford to ignore. Clark has become one of the biggest drivers of television attention and attendance across the season, with her games drawing major interest wherever she plays. Arenas often fill up when she comes to town, and networks continue to prioritize her matchups. Every time she goes down holding her knee after contact that goes uncalled, or gets restrained without an immediate whistle, it raises legitimate concerns about protecting a player who has become central to so much of the league's attention. If the league genuinely wants to protect its biggest stars while maintaining the quality of competition, officiating in these situations needs to keep pace with what viewers can clearly see on the replay. It shouldn't require a viral clip and thousands of frustrated reactions online before the league even addresses a controversial play involving Clark.
I don't know who didn't get a foul call. Stephanie White lost her shit today. She literally was jumping up and down, and I was like, man, that's the first time I've seen Stephanie White show her ass like that all year. But she lost her ever-loving mind.
Zoom out for a moment and look at the entire story of this one game. There was a missed call on a low knee-level collision that many viewers could immediately see as dangerous once the replay was shown. Then there was an arm hold that lasted several extra seconds before the whistle finally came, long after Clark's frustration had already become obvious. And later, the same opposing player received a technical foul, showing that the tension on the court had clearly escalated. It wasn't difficult to understand why emotions were running high in a game where every possession had become increasingly physical. Night after night, city after city, arena after arena, Clark continues to draw enormous attention wherever she plays. But regardless of intent, the result can look remarkably similar. She takes significant contact, the whistle arrives late or not at all, and somehow the conversation shifts toward her reaction instead of the contact that started everything. Until that changes, these clips will likely continue spreading for the same reasons. Fans will keep questioning broadcast descriptions of questionable contact, and the same unanswered question will remain hanging over the league. How many more controversial moments will it take before something actually changes?